Do you want to impress all your friends and family this holiday season by raising your own turkeys for either Thanksgiving or Christmas? In this video, I'm going to show you how to raise turkeys that are going to be table ready for Thanksgiving, even if you've never done it before, and even if you have a small yard like I do. The clock starts right now. So right now, we're sitting on July 6th. Our turkeys, our broad-breasted turkeys, will be arriving on the 23rd, which is just about the latest you can do. If we actually go all the way to November, you can see 15-week process is on the 8th, 17-week process is on the 22nd, and Thanksgiving is on the 27th. We raise turkeys on less than a quarter acre of a property. Now, in order to do that, I need to talk a little bit about the different breeds of turkey and what you need. So the breeds that I have in here, we're going to go ahead and walk in. Generally speaking, you have heritage breeds like all of these. It's typically what you're going to see out in the wild, and you have broad-breasted whites. Now, heritage turkeys, they taste wonderful. They're about 50% white meat, 50% dark meat, but they do take longer to grow. Usually you need between 20 and 24 weeks before they're going to be of size that's going to be good enough for you to really enjoy with your family. The breed we're going to be talking about today is broad-breasted whites. Now, broad-breasted whites do not breed on their own. The heritage breed will. Broad-breasted whites, because of the size that they get to when they hit maturity, you have to artificially inseminate them. So in order to get these, you're going to have to order these birds through a local farmer or a hatchery online. The hatchery in which you get these birds is going to vary depending on where you're at. The easiest way to do it is go on Facebook, find a local poultry group, or you can even just do a quick Google search online of broad-breasted turkeys. You can even buy them at Tractor Supply. When I first started raising poultry, one of the most difficult things to understand was what to feed them, what to give them. There's a ton of different articles, and there's 8 million different opinions on what kind of feed that you should actually use. The water is simple. You just use water. When you first buy your turkey poults, which poult is what you call a baby turkey. A baby turkey is not a chick, it's called a poult. So when you first buy your turkey poults, typically they're gonna be somewhere between $13 and $20. When I sell mine, I typically sell my turkeys for about $20. When you're ordering online from a hatchery, the more you order, the cheaper it gets. But go ahead and plan for about 15 to 20 bucks. The feed that I use for my turkeys is very simple. They make starters, they make growers, and then they make mature feed as well. But Kalmbach, which is a great company, makes a feed that's all natural, 22% start to finish meat bird feed. It comes in crumble form and looks like this. But it has all the vitamins, the nutrients, the proteins, everything that you're gonna need, all the way up to a mature bird ready for process. A lot of websites you'll read will say that turkeys need grit, and grit is important. Turkeys, just like chickens, don't have teeth. So because they don't have teeth, they don't chew their food. That's what the gizzard is for. Now, one thing to remember is in order for a turkey to process its food, it needs a lot of clean water. So make sure whenever you're feeding your turkeys, they have plenty of clean water. Going back to the grit conversation though, most of your meat bird feed is designed and formulated so that they don't need the grit. However, you can add supplements for grit if you'd like. For me, I've never added grit to any of my birds, but my property in which I raise my birds also has a ton of grit already in the soil if they need it. So that is something to think about when I start talking about what kind of area to raise them in. If they don't have access to the ground, they don't have access to grit, you might need a supplement. And if you're unfamiliar with grit, grit is grit. It's gritty. It's basically rocks. They can get it from seashells, they can get it from oyster shells, they can get it from eggs. They're just getting that grit because what the grit does, because they don't have teeth, is that grit gets into the gizzard and that gizzard grinds up and processes all the food. I'm gonna throw up on the screen here a chart that I use. This is from Ag Forte. It's gonna show you how much feed your turkeys will go through and what average live bird size you can expect when it's time to process. All right, so now we know what kind of feed to give them. Now we know how much feed to give them. We're gonna talk about how you're gonna house them and how much space you need. Now, when it comes to the baby poults, when you first get them, they're only gonna be a couple days old, so they're gonna need somewhere safe. I use an outside shed that I have. If you don't have an outside shed, you can use your carport, you can use your garage. Some people even keep the birds inside. Now this shed, as you can see, it's wonderfully dirty. This is where I typically raise my babies. As they get older, I'll move them out, but this is what we have. The first thing that you're gonna need before you get your poults in is a brooder. Now, I built this brooder out of pallets. You can see it's nothing fancy. I have the hardware cloth down below. And that's it. It's about 2 feet tall. I wanna say it's about 4 or 5 feet wide, another 2 feet or so deep. You're also gonna need a heat source. It's really important for the first 6 weeks of life that your turkeys do have heat source. Turkeys are more delicate than chickens, so it's important that they have that heat source until they're able to survive 70-degree nighttime temperatures. Popping up on the screen right here is going to be the list of weeks in which they can survive temperatures. So essentially, you're gonna need to make sure that those birds are safe with heat for the first 6 weeks of their life. Now, when it comes to things to use for watering and feeding, again, there's a ton of different things that you can get. Any of the products that I'm showing on here, I will link in the description to our Amazon storefront, so you can find them all there. There's gonna be a list of everything. Starting out as a new poultry raiser, typically, you're gonna end up buying something like this. This stores the feed, you stick it inside, you close it up, and you have the holes to eat in. For water, the most common thing you're gonna get is something like this. It's not gonna have the same bottom. It's gonna have a little water dish on the bottom. You also have larger ones like this. They screw from the bottom. So you have to fill it from the top, screw it, and then flip it over. And then you have ones that are a little bit bigger, like this guy right here. I'm gonna give you some little controversial advice. Don't buy those little things. Unless you have a really small brooder that you're using, don't worry about them, don't waste your time. When it comes to a feeder, get yourself a full-size feeder, just like this, fits inside, and you can toss it inside your brooder. Same thing with the water. I would recommend getting a top-filling 2-gallon water. This guy right here, the top fillers are so much easier. Now you can get the 2 gallons, you can get a 5-gallon, you can even get a 7-gallon. The way these work is you have a little cap on top. You put that cap, you put this cap down below, you unscrew the top, and you fill it up. Once you screw it on, you unscrew the cap from the bottom and leave it right here, and it'll automatically start filling. It's a gravity feeder. This way you don't have to constantly be worrying about checking the water. You still need to check that water every single day because the turkeys need that water in order to digest their food. But by getting a 2-gallon instead of one of these 2 or 3-quart ones, or even smaller ones, it's just gonna save you a lot of headache and a lot of time because you're gonna have to buy a bigger one anyway once they become an adult. So back to the spacing, the brooder, the housing. So we have our brooder here. Now you can do a couple different things. Again, it depends on your setup. If you're doing this in your carport or garage, you're gonna use something like Tractor Supply, the pine shavings, the flake. Now, I don't use the fine flake, I use the regular because I don't want the fine going through here. If you do use fine, you're gonna end up having a big mess just like this. Now, of course, through trial and error, I have learned future batches, I'm gonna be putting a tarp down. That way, I can just pull that tarp out, throw the tarp away, and not have to worry about scraping all that stuff off the bottom of the floor. So whatever you use, just make sure it's safe, there's no drafts, and you can control that temperature. You don't want your turkeys going outside until the nighttime temperatures are 70 degrees. If that ground is colder than 70 degrees, you have a risk. Now, once they are 6 weeks old, if you can keep them inside for 8, that's even better. But once they're 6 weeks old, you want to build something to hold them. Now, you can see in here, this is 5 feet by 8 feet. This was all made with reconstructed or repurposed wood. But you can see my turkeys inside here. I have a couple of roosting bars. Turkeys like to roost at night. I have their water. I have their feeding cup, which looks like I need a refill. But we got 4 turkeys in here, adolescents. The larger ones, these are heritage breed. The larger ones are about 3 months old. That guy's about 2.5 months old. And the one in the back, the dark one, is 2 months old. But again, small property, you're just raising turkeys for your family and you're not breeding them like I do. You can fit 2 to 3 birds in this 5 by 8 area. A turkey generally needs 10 to 12 square feet of space. So a 5 by 8 is going to be 40 square feet, which will comfortably fit 3 turkeys. For predator protection, you want to make sure that you know what's in your area. Do you have bobcats? Do you have mountain lions? Do you have coyotes? Do you just have raccoons? Because once those turkeys are about 8 weeks old, you don't have to worry about a ton of smaller predators. Raccoons usually aren't going to mess with them. Possums aren't going to mess with them. You only have to worry about the larger felines or canines like a coyote or a bobcat or a mountain lion. But there's a couple different things. You can see I used welded wire. So welded wire is perfectly good. This is chicken wire. Chicken wire comes in those hexagons. Chicken wire is designed to keep birds in, not predators out. So a predator can get through this. Hardware cloth is designed to keep predators out. Hardware cloth is significantly more expensive, and in my opinion, it's not something super necessary for the turkeys in the area that I live. So the chicken wire and the welded wire do perfectly fine. So when it comes to bedding inside the turkey coop, one of my favorite things to use is pine pellets. This is designed typically for a horse stall. So these pine pellets, when you look at them up close, are little pellets of pine. What's great about the pine pellets is once the pine pellets are inside your area and the birds start walking over it, it turns into this fine powder just like this. Which is great for them dust bathing to keep themselves clean. It's super easy to rake out just like kitty litter, and it really helps keep down on moisture as well as odor. Do a quick recap on everything we've talked about. Right now, it's early July. If you want turkeys table ready for Thanksgiving, the time is now. Order your turkeys. Buy and order your feeders and waterers, as well as your heat lamps. Locate your source for feed. I highly recommend a local feed and seed if possible. If not, you can do a big box like Tractor Supply. Build or set up your brooder and start preparing your outside coop. Turkeys aren't super cheap to raise, but they're also not the most expensive animal. One thing you can do, instead of just getting 2 turkeys, one for Thanksgiving and one for Christmas, go ahead and order yourself 3 or 4. Turkey that's raised like this, not in a cage, can sell from anywhere from $7 to $10 per pound, which means those extra turkeys you have, you can sell them to offset your costs. I'm going to leave links for the products, as well as links to a couple videos, including predator protection, brooder must-haves, step-by-step turkey processing guide as well. So make sure you check out the description, and I'd love to hear from y'all about what kind of turkeys you're raising for your holiday season. Raising your own food doesn't have to be complicated. This is Kale from Ready Set Homestead. Enjoy homesteading.